and commentate. So, okay. This is my first stream on Lichess. I've been streaming for the last couple weeks on Twitch. But we thought we'd try it here on Lichess, and hopefully we get a good reception. I've been playing Blitz. Don't have an established rating in the standard or classical time controls. But my name is International Master William Pascal, and we're playing under Sparklehorse on Lichess. This is 10-0 classical. So it's basically like a double Blitz game. Hopefully the stream is good. He offered a draw. I didn't notice any draw offer. What's a draw anyway? No, I offer draws all the time. I'm not so used to the Lichess interface. Didn't notice the draw offer. But I was lost on the clock. I mean, I just completely... He played well. I mean, I had to use all my time to avoid being worse. So, in the end, it was a draw. Now, this is like a standard line of the Fischer-Sozin, right? Castles kingside. This is Fischer's favorite line. But black has sufficient counterplay in the main lines of this, I believe. I didn't have to waste time with like queen c7 or one of these slow moves. So everybody who doesn't know, or like you're new to my Twitch stream, maybe you're coming over from Lichess. I've been streaming on other sites too. We'll probably play like on different chess sites. We'll do Lichess at least once or twice a week. This is an unusual exchange on c6. It's generally not good for white. He strengthens my center and allows me to play d5 at some point, which I think it's okay to do right away. This obviously kills his bishop on b3, and for those of you who are, like, let's say afraid to do this, to allow e5, you should not be, because the e5 pawn is difficult for white to support. So even if he plays e5, I play knight d7, and it's difficult for him to reinforce e5 to the point where he'll, be able to play f5 or have some kind of really dangerous attack on the king side. Now we have to do some calculation because d4 is possible, but he plays rook d1 and pins me. So I don't really want to go there. I don't see a way to win a piece, and rook d1 looks really strong, and it's just like a trick. This move is sort of a trick to get me to play d4 to weaken my structure. So if I could support it a little better. I'm not so used to the web-based interface, so it's going to take me some time to adjust. I was just telling the streamers, or the viewers here, that yesterday I made some pretty brutal mouse slips in one game. I don't know if I want to play bishop b7, because it weakens the e6, f5 kind of defensive potential of the bishop, and on the other hand, I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't do bishop b7. I kind of need to do bishop b7, so we'll try it. I'm a little worried about him getting some attack, but this move is weak, I think. It's not that bad, but I feel like he had better chances by kind of keeping the tension. And generally speaking, I would take with the c-pawn here, but I'm not sure, if it's easy for me to do anything. I always learn from my games, and yesterday I had a similar structure where I found it very difficult to do anything with black after c takes d. So I'm wondering if e takes d might take some of the play he'd have with the f5 lever out of the position. I don't know. I don't know. It's a little anti-positional to take with the e-pawn here. It leaves it with a Scotch kind of structure. Although, on the other hand, I think it should be fine for black. This is a little bit weird. It looks a little bit weird, but I think that he's going to get play along the f file if I don't do this. And this looks pretty solid for black, actually. So I'm going to play knight d7. I have knight c5. And structurally, this looks like better for white. But I have the ability to play rook e8. I can play bishop f6. Maybe fight for the d4 square. This position looks like a 11-fish variation of the dragon. A little bit like that structure. Should turn the sound on. Well, I don't know, man. If there's something wrong with the sound, I think we have a lot of people complaining. So, if you don't hear sound, I'm guessing that it's a problem on your end. But we should definitely double check with the stream, other people in the stream. So, because if somebody doesn't have sound, I think I would have been let to know about it already. Maybe the sound isn't loud enough. Is that a possibility? So, this is a new idea for me. Honestly, I've never made this recapture in this kind of structure before. But thinking about it, the way his rook and queen are piled up behind that f-pawn, if I take back with the e-pawn, this way I kind of take away. Look, he plays f5, but he's threatening nothing. He has threats against g7, but I have all sorts of moves here. I mean, the simplest one is bishop f6. I'm going to play that. Yeah. No, I mean, obviously we have to have sound because you guys would let me know a long time ago if there was a sound problem. The mic is pretty clear from what I've heard. So I think we're good. Not using the headset. The headset doesn't have as good sound quality as the microphone. So a good microphone is just worlds better than a headset. Denzudo says, I am wow. Thank you. Now, can I go for it and get these hanging pawns in motion with a c5? c5 takes, knight takes. It's interesting. I don't really want to let him blockade, so I'm thinking about something else. But actually, a4 is interesting. Sorry, a5. Maybe it's like a Freudian thing. a5, probably useful move to throw in. I think that the dude has several moves here. It also gives me the ability to play bishop a6, which is pretty huge, actually. I can trade my white squared bishop and never do, you know, a weakening move with my center, which is an interesting possibility. You know, getting rid of the bad piece. So black, although he has a slightly worse structure here, I like better because I have no bad pieces. I have a solid center. I have lots of open lines like the E file, the B file, half open B file. My king is safe. And now we can think about maybe giving up my bishop because this structure, taking on d4, c5, there's so many choices though. And maybe I want to take on my terms. So I'm going to do rook e8 first. But hard to make decisions here. There's a lot of candidate moves for both sides, especially for black. I have a bit more flexibility. And now rook f2 is really awkward for white because he's pinned. You know, he's pinned on the file. a4, a3 is an interesting concept. Let's throw it in. Try to break up his queen side or get a really like dangerous looking pawn down on the a3 square. Okay, now he's pinned and we have knight e5 for one thing. Knight e5 looks pretty strong. We're gonna go with that. Although then again, knight e5, queen g3. I don't think I'm sure about it anymore. So bishop takes d4, queen b6. Could put pressure on his d4 pawn. But then I don't have a square for my... okay, this is getting to be a blitz game. This guy's hanging really tough. There doesn't look to be any like concrete way I can win by force. Bishop takes d4 is sort of double-edged. But actually, there's some interesting possibilities here. I mean, I have a weird pawn on c6. But he also has weaknesses. And I was thinking queen a5. But it's not the only idea. Let's play knight f6. He's sort of pinned himself, and it's awkward. This is a good move, though. Okay, bishop a6, however, is a bit awkward for white because of the pin. Now, the pawn on a3 could be quite dangerous. But I'm not convinced there's anything special here. So I think white has played okay. He's played pretty solid, except for f5, which extends his pawns a little bit. I thought it's kind of debatable, f5. So welcome everybody to my Twitch stream. International Master William Pascal on Twitch. My channel is under the name Slaggy. We are streaming on Lichess for the first time. You guys, I am an American international master originally, but I have lived in Europe now since 2004. Wow, major change in position here. I'm strongly tempted to take with the pawn, but I think rook takes is probably best because I'm going to try to pick off his d4 pawn. I've got to watch my king side. Queen f6 is a huge blockading idea. Got to watch my back rank too. White seems to have counterplay in most positions that I've been analyzing. What about his back rank? You know, is his back rank going to be a problem? I think so. Maybe he could even come close to losing directly, but it's not so easy. Knight g3, rook e1 check. He's got knight back to f1. So this is going to go down to the wire, I think. Rook takes d4, nothing. Rook e3. Rook e3 doesn't really do anything. I don't know. Feels like we're better, but I don't know if we're winning. The pawn on a3 was one of my big ideas, but he still has some kind of threats. Rook e8, I suppose. And we have to watch our king carefully. It would be nice to have h6 in right about now. I would be pretty confident in my position. But if I don't have the back rank covered, he constantly has some kind of counterplay. So it's probably going to come down to some sort of rook ending where, you know, it's a question of whose weaknesses are more relevant. I'm really counting on my a pawn, like, carrying the day here. Alright, let's both do the same thing. I think that the Luft is really important for black because it could allow me to like reach a winning rook ending. Alright, now I guess it's time to take that knight because it's driving me nuts. He has a weakness on a2 and d4. So queen d2. Queen d2 is a double threat. And also got rook to the 7th ideas. But Denzuto played super tough. I've got the e-file covered. My king side looks okay. f6 is always an option, but I think we can hold. And, well, it's a 3-minute blitz game now. Anything could happen. We've got the rook on the 7th. Taking the A pawn could cost me some valuable time. So I don't know if I'm really threatening to take that or not. I think my king might have to stick around the center. The sound's definitely on. If I'm too loud, let me know. I mean the Lichess. Oh, you mean the Lichess sound. You want me to turn on sounds? Oh, you mean for the draw offers and stuff like that? Yeah, I'm sorry if I took your answer out of context. You mean sounds there. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying. Okay. I guess rook on the 7th here. What's up with this? I mean, this has got to improve my position. I'm not necessarily going to take the pawn on a2 because the guy's going to have some kingside threats. So I'm actually a little worried. Maybe queen takes d4. Queen takes d4, and like queen g3, queen takes d4. He has f6, queen e5, rook f4, avoiding a trade of queens, for example, and threatening mate in 1. Maybe I can play g5 there. I guess that's winning. I'm really poor at endgame. What was the best move for me? Not easy to say. I don't think you're even necessarily lost yet. Maybe now. Well, you shouldn't trade, queens. You should avoid trading queens at all cost. But I'm not really sure, man. It was a very tense game. And for me, it was very hard to play because I think he resigned. Good game. Thank you. A very tense game. I had a lot of candidate moves, more than you. Your play was a little more difficult, I think. And the F file became a problem. Like F5 I'm not sure about. Maybe you can play something more stable. If you do play F5, I think you have to find a really aggressive follow-up. Otherwise, your pieces are just sort of stuck behind the pawn on F5, and if you can't break through with F6, it looks like it wasn't really a beneficial plan. All right, so the files kind of fell in my hands there, and A3 became difficult to deal with. So normally, guys, I'm streaming in the mornings. Let's get another game in here. Ashilov, it's rated 2100. I don't know if he's gonna play with us. We can try. 510. Yeah, I'm over 2,000. Maybe he'll accept our challenge. We have a stream every day in the mornings, but not always on Lichess. I stream on other sites too. We'll see how it goes, though. If you guys really support it, I mean, we could do Lichess more regularly. And here's a classical closed Sicilian. Not my favorite. Although I should like the closed Sicilian. I was thinking the other day that when I've been playing Blitz, I don't really score well against the closed Sicilian. And I think in many cases that's true for players who love open games. Players who play super sharp variations of the Sicilian. And but I also play strategic openings like the Nimzo, so there's no reason why I shouldn't appreciate these kind of closed positions. This is, or was, a somewhat topical line at one point. Bishop e3 and knight d4 e5. There was a period where that became a real kind of trendy line for white. I think it goes bishop e3, knight d4, e5, knight f5, and there's other moves like bishop d7. Very complicated stuff. Knight e2 I'm not familiar with. It looks like a general like shifting to the king side kind of move where he's going to try to play yeah, if you guys want to check out my YouTube channel, there's some content there. I'm working on it at the moment. I have uploads and some original videos that I created just for the channel. It's video chess training on YouTube. So it's only been up and running for like 2 weeks. We need some subscribers and people to like my videos, so check it out. Let's see, other things like a weekend stream I'm probably going to do on Sunday night. Not going to conflict with the Super Bowl because I'll be doing it at like 1 p.m. on Sunday. Now, this is the thing where they're threatening d4 strategically. So I feel that the only way to counter this is by playing f5 myself, which is obviously double-edged. You know, it weakens the diagonal a2, g8, and sometimes white gets some play there. But I always have the feeling this is kind of the best approach, to lever the e4 pawn before he has time to play d4. So anyway, I was saying about like future streams. Weekend streams on Sunday I'm going to do, and probably around 7 p.m., which is 1900 hours Central European time. So if you guys are around Sunday night or Sunday afternoon, if you like Spinal Tap chess, check it out. Alright, now bishop e3. Queen d7 is kind of the setup I'm aiming for. Would be like queen d7, b6, maybe bishop. I know that typically like you play for b5 in this kind of structure, but white is playing in the center, and it's not a racing position where he's like trying to storm the king side and I'm trying to storm the queen side. This is a situation where you have to be a little more careful with black, or white will overrun you in the center. So I think a stable move is in order. Maybe b6. I really have to watch out for my e6 pawn. And sometimes you have to play h6 to keep the knight off of g5. b6 looks like a solid move. I didn't really intend to play b5. That's not why I played rook b8. I just want to get it off the long diagonal. b6 also shores up the c5 pawn, because white has gambits in these kind of positions with pawn sacrifices, I should say, with e5, which can be very, very nasty. So for the first time, when I protected c5, I now have the ability to play d5 when I decide, if I decide to at some point. Obviously, this is really a lot of pawn tension and just general tension with no pieces exchanged. A difficult sort of struggle in this kind of position. And I said queen d7, but now that he played queen d2, and I'm having second thoughts, because the d file, you know, could be white having some play on the d file. Maybe I would put my queen on c7 as well in this kind of structure. h6, do I want to do that? Do I want to play d5 and allow him to play e5? There's so many questions, you know, it's so hard to play this. So he's got a big time edge now. I'm gonna try to use my 10 seconds, sorry, 10 seconds to try to get something. I'm gonna play queen d7. I don't think that my queen is gonna necessarily have any problems on the d file. Jenny Jersey, very sharp position. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would call it tense. That would be my adjective. My preferred adjective. If he's going to bust open the center with d4, I'm wondering if I should think about playing bishop a6 to kind of discourage that. On the other hand, it might end up just costing me, because later on white will play queen c2, queen a4, queen b3, maybe exploit the bishop on a6. This is what I was talking about queen c7 and queen d7. Now I'm thinking, is this going to be a misplacement of my queen on d7? Am I going to regret this? It may come down to like having to play d5 at some point here, because if I don't, what am I going to do? I can just wait and hang out. Bishop b7 maybe. Bishop b7 is a pretty solid move. Since he's not in position to double attack e6, if he decides to take on f5, I have options. I can take any of the three possible ways. Though, I will tell you guys a secret that wasn't free to me, but it will be free to you. If you tell anyone, I don't know what I'll do. But I have had one lesson with the famous trainer Mark Dvoretsky, and one of the things we talked about was this kind of structure, you know. And the secret is that if white takes on your f5 pawn with a g pawn or with an e pawn in this kind of structure, the kind of training secret is that you take the opposite way. So if white has a pawn on g4 in this closed Sicilian structure, and he takes an f5, you should take with a d pawn. If white has a pawn on e4, and he takes an f5, you should take with a g pawn. That's the Russian secrets that I came to somehow get hold of. All right, guys, Ashalov here, really putting the pressure on the clock. So I'm just gonna have to blitz. He's just like keeping his position, not doing anything. We're slowly improving while he just sort of moves back and forth, trying to win on time. Knight h4. Okay, I think it's time to do something. You know, we're about now. I'm gonna go for it here. Maybe I'll regret this, but I feel that somehow black is pretty well placed. There is an issue though. If he takes on d5, I'm not even sure which way I should take back. I can take back with the knight or with the pawn. So normally with the pawn is like structurally the right thing to do. But in this particular position, there are some factors that might like make taking back with the knight interesting. He did this, and then I think I need to play d4. Though it's a little double-edged. Maybe not. Maybe I should prepare it more. d4, pawn takes d4. I don't know. My pawn gets a little weak there. So maybe not. Maybe we'll switch to another diagonal here. But I'm having second thoughts about this. I didn't expect him to close it up with e5. I thought that he would take on d5 for sure. They usually do in this kind of structure. So I'm not really mentally prepared for white to play e5 there. d4, I just thought that I'm getting a situation where my pawn on d4 is becoming a serious liability. Though I have d5, it looked a little questionable. Now, one idea that's interesting here, I think is really interesting, is sacking a pawn with d4 and playing c4. Kind of sealer, sweeper, sacrifice. Now he did d4. This is gonna kind of force my hand. Now I have to decide, do we close it up completely? Do we take? I mean, now my bishop is on a6, so that's okay. He can't really establish a good blockade at d4, so if he could take with the knight, I would probably go with c4 here. Knight takes, and the knights are good, but he can't blockade with the knight on d4 without sacking an exchange, which doesn't look real sound to me. The Russian secrets, you always take the opposite way. The Dvoretsky capture. Yeah, where are you going to learn stuff like that? I mean, seriously. You think the Russians are going to tell you that? I'm like Edward Snowden, you know? Just giving away like Russian governmental chess secrets. Okay, rook on f to c8. This is looking pretty good. I don't see him having a lot of counterplay on the king's side. The c file is operable, and we're gonna try to do like bishop f8 and see if we can't use the lines on the CA and B files and try to get some space advantage over there. Now this is an interesting situation where it's worth considering giving up this bishop, I think. Because honestly, it's a pretty good bishop, but I don't want to trade for his bishop. And this will create some dynamic possibilities in the opposite color, the world of opposite color bishops. And here, it's interesting, maybe queen a4. Notice the weak pawns on a2 and d4 are under surveillance. and we're not letting him contest the file. So I like this. He's weakened himself. Now we're gonna like double on the c file. Could also play knight c6, but that would. Could also play rook c4. I think he'll just play knight f3. I like his knight on h4, honestly. And we've got increments, so he can't flag us straight up like. Can he? Yeah. Not really. Not with 10-second increments. Come on, guy, just let us win. We're provisional. You're not going to lose that many points. No, I just want a good game. Knight f3. See, he just would have gone to f3 anyway, so it would have been a serious mistake to do anything other. He's gone back to e1. He's gone into clam mode here. And who can blame him for that? You know, he's going to defend his 7th rank. Where in an endgame, maybe I'll try to break with g5, but I'm not in, not in any position to do anything active on the king's side just yet. So it looks good for black, but I wouldn't call it like winning per se. Would be nice to get some kind of tactic with bishop f8 set up. I think we're gonna try to do a sort of tricky move order of bishop f8 before knight c6, so it's not obvious what I'm trying to do. And then we do knight c6, threatening knight takes d4. I feel like if we do knight c6 first and then bishop f8, it's, oh, you're trying to do knight takes d4 and bishop f5. But if you do bishop f8 first, psychologically, he's more likely to miss this tactic with knight takes d4. I mean, it may be just plain old impossible to defend this position. But it's similar to like if you played the Gurgenidze Caro-Kann, where black doesn't have much space. How you maneuver the bishop from g7 to f8. There was a great game I saw where the bishop goes to b4 in that line. Let's see. Yeah, I'm Sparklehorse on Lichess, and it's not in any way related to My Little Pony. That's my disclaimer. He sort of defended against this threat. Now knight takes d4, take, and he's defending, that position. So maybe we should play knight a5 and just continue to kind of massage the weak squares. I don't really see any other options. It's either a tactic with knight takes d4 or knight a5 and trying to move in. But this ending after takes d4, it's not that clear. I like black, but it's so blocked that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get through. So let's look for more here, other ideas. But I just saw that he has bishop a6. It doesn't really do anything per se. I can play knight c4, I guess. But I'm not sure if I wanted that exchange or not. My bishop is now stronger than his knight. A little bit stronger. So bishop a6, knight c4. Actually, I have bishop a6, knight to b3, but that's just a big simplification. Ashalov, very solid. As I mentioned earlier, we can improve on the king side with bishop e7 and g5 at some point. But I didn't want to do that until, we had him like completely under our control. We're like hypnotizing him fully, and then we'll play g5, g4, g4, h5, h4, h3, Magnus Carlsen. That's how Magnus Carlsen beat me in a queen and 7 versus queen and 7 ending. I had this vortex of pawns like h2 through e5 and h2 to f4 and a2 to d5 in a queen and queen endgame, and he just like got his pawns down to a4, a3, and h5, h4, h3, sort of like a double undermining theme. So the pawn, this is how we kind of won the last game. We got a pawn down to a3, maybe we get a pawn down to h3 in this game. Ashalov here going in the tank. I don't know what he's thinking about. I mean, he was moving pretty fast, so there are even exchange sacrifices I could do, maybe with rook on the 7th. Knight b3 I think is a pretty disturbing move, which could cause a lot of chaos. I guess that's what he's worried about. But bishop a6, knight c4, bishop takes c4, rook takes c4. Looks like I wouldn't resign with white. Here now, knight to b3. And again, we have renewed threats of knight takes d4. It looks like Ashalov is kind of like going on to his increments now, which I'm sure he's not going to lose on time. Straight up with the 10-second increments. Yeah, and then he blundered, which is funny because he didn't allow this before. Knight takes d4. The king on h1, Mickey Adams' favorite square. Now I feel good. We're feeling good about our position. That's pretty much it for white. You lose that pawn and it just all falls apart. So, Ashalov, I like your opening. It was solid, but I don't know. You need to find some kind of more concrete plan because closing it all up is impossible. All right. Good game, guys. It got a little too close on the time there, though. I'm not challenging people. I'm just kind of picking random opponents from the list of games. We're going to stream for another hour 15 minutes or something. I might have to take a 5-minute break a little bit later, but I think we can get in one more game. Let's try this guy here. He's only 1800. I don't really have a perspective on the ratings here, like how strong is strong. Another Sicilian. Play my mainline stuff because I'm not really used to the interface. I don't want to experiment with weird openings until I'm a little more comfortable. Yesterday we had a couple mouse slips in Blitz. Castling, I'm used to like dragging the pieces on other chess sites, and Castle, we had an accident with king f8. Okay, bishop b5 check. That's a weird move. But it's perfectly playable. I guess knight d7 would be more ambitious for black. It's, yeah, okay, this is cool. It's looking like, there is a player who played this against the dragon, a famous player who's evading my memory right now. I can't remember the name of the variation, but there was a really cool variation with like knight c3, bishop g5, bishop b5, and queen e2. It wasn't like Kuprejcik, it was another, I don't know, maybe you know Spinal Tap or somebody. There's some really creative grandmaster who used to play that way against the dragon with this formation. So e5 becomes an idea. It's similar to Karol Klage. All these creative players in the history have their interesting lines against the Sicilian. So I don't know. Knight c6. This is Blitz with 8-second increment. This is a cool line. I don't see really the clear plan. He can play e5 real quick. I could play queen c7 maybe, but I don't know. It doesn't have a lot of independent significance, but I think that's a solid approach. Queen c7 should at least take him out of book, which isn't a bad thing. I don't believe this is black's best move. I don't know what the best move is, and I don't have time to figure it out, but I believe that queen c7 has to be playable. And it's useful in any kind of hedgehog structure if he does c4. And I don't think he does anything with knight b5 because now his queen is on e2. So he doesn't have a weak point on d6 to exploit. one thing he could have done was when I played queen c7 to play bishop g5. I think that's probably the right move. He can double my pawns. Yeah, so I wasn't really worried about it because I'm used to the double pawn structure for black. But objectively, I think, yeah, he should have played like bishop g5 right away. And here, I'm paranoid now about knight b5, so we're going to do a6. Spinal Tap says he thinks it's Vaigantsev. He's a knight a3 Sicilian guy. It's Vaigantsev, yeah. He was there when Dvoretsky revealed the secret Russian secrets to me. Dvoretsky is his trainer, or was his trainer. Let's see. e6. Kalu's Sicilian, tough opening to play against. And I think it's a good setup for white, but you have to stylistically, really enjoy those kind of positions. Very effective. There's some strong players who, at the Grandmaster level, have enjoyed success. I think the reason is just that people are so into the sharp lines of the Sicilian. The closed Sicilian has always been like neglected theoretically, but there's no reason it shouldn't be as good as any of the main lines in the opening. Just a different kind of position. I think the fact that not as many like top grandmasters play the closed Sicilian has sort of slowed down its popularity, but there's no reason it's not as good as opening the game. Okay, now this looks like a kind of typical hedgehog. There he played a4. I could have played a5. I'm not really sure. My instinct tells me that it's okay to allow a5 here, but maybe I'm going to regret this. So, my general rule of thumb in these kind of positions would be that black is okay because he's traded a set of pieces. Whereas normally in like a Scheveningen or like mainline Sicilian, white gets an a4, a5 with all the pieces on the board. You have kind of issues with your coordination of your pieces, difficult like to get the pieces even mobilized. But here, if you notice, comparing this to like a normal Sicilian with a bishop on c8 or d7 or whatever, man, I mean, you have just so much more freedom of movement that black has to be okay. So he has rook a4 at some point. I was thinking about queen c4, but it's like, I think, a waste of time. And knight b3. I can play knight c5 now. And I can also play knight e5, but again, I want to relieve the pressure here. I mean, he has this sort of space advantage with a5 and the central pawn on e4. So I don't mind trading pieces. I feel that this is okay for me. His knight is pinned along the c-file, and he has some pressure. He has the pawn on d6, constantly under surveillance. And here I have queen b4. Does rook a4 trap a queen? Not really, because queen b4, rook a4, queen takes b2. I don't see him trapping my queen there. But queen b4 has other problems, perhaps. I don't see it, though. I guess he has to play rook a2. And I think there's a case for sacking the exchange here. If nothing else, it's a blitz game, and I need to do something. It just occurred to me as rook a3, though. Well, rook a3 we just take. So bishop c1. Okay, he saw it. Exchange sack here, quite interesting. Queen takes e4. Rook takes c3 takes. Queen takes e4. And let's do it. We don't have a lot of time. So this is just a practical decision. I'm not arguing that this is absolutely correct for black. In fact, it's probably not, but I just want to get a playable position and not lose on time. And amateur players tend to kind of panic when a major transition happens in the position, like a serious, for example, imbalance in material occurs, I think the stronger player learns how to adapt and not panic psychologically. Weaker players tend to make more mistakes in the sort of situations. So we're talking a little bit of like chess psychology here, basically. Bishop b2. And rook c8, I guess. This stops c4. And incidentally threatens to win a pawn, which is not my main focus here. My main focus is consolidating my position. So I may have better moves. You know, it's possible I should have played like bishop f6 there. I'm trying to be practical. And now is c4 a threat? I don't know. Let's see. Rook c6, guarding the d6 pawn. I'd like to get my king over. If I can get all four pieces coordinated together, I think white's going to be in big trouble. But now, it looks like he finally figured out something here. It looks like I could have some problems. So, yeah, I think we have a problem now. Maybe d5 is interesting. Rook c7. Rook c7, idea d5. I need to get my king over to the queen side. 1821. Yeah. This guy's reacted well. He first played bishop b2 and then then he realized and played f3 and bishop a. I should have been more aggressive and gone for that pawn. Now, this move I don't like. Bishop b4 is questionable. Maybe king e8. I don't care if he plays c4, because that just gets to be a weakness in and of itself. So I don't really like bishop b4. I think he did the wrong thing there. He's letting my king get over to the queen side, which is possibly dangerous for his health. Perhaps I should play rook b5. I'm not sure. Now, what about the king side? I'm fine. I think I'm fine on the king side. Even if I have to play f5, it's not that big a deal. So I think that white misplayed this. It should have been all about attacking my b7 pawn. And I thought he was onto the right path when he played... Man, I'm kind of having hallucinations now. I thought... Let's see here. Well, he's actually threatening some stuff. So I'm not sure what I should do. Maybe bishop d8? Bishop d8 going for that a5 pawn. Even if he wins my b7 pawn now, I think I'll be okay. But it's time for a coffee break when I start to have hallucinations where like his rook can go from a4 to d4. That's literally what I hallucinated just a minute ago. So here, he's making it hard for me to make progress. And yeah, it's looking kind of tough. We've got increments. Maybe I can create some weaknesses on the other side, which, you know, I really thought this should be his thing, you know, trying to open up the other side with the two rooks. So he made a debatable decision here. Now I'm going to have to decide how to handle this. He's going to have to play c5. And I guess I take with the pawn. or the king. King loses a piece. Rook takes is possible too, but pawn takes looks like the best. And then I get his g2 pawn. If I take his g2 pawn, there are some tactical questions about this. Take his g2 pawn and then play f5. Take his g2 pawn, avoid the exchange. What about c4 check? Not possible. Avoid the exchange here. Play rook h2, I guess. This is awfully risky what I'm doing here. An f5. I think I may have been a little overambitious in this position. I don't know. I'm trying to win in a position where maybe I should have been content with a draw. I think I went too far. But still, there are some possibilities for black. I've got a pawn for the exchange. I've got a slightly better structure. So his rook on a3 is badly placed. What can we do here? Set up some sort of mating net with bishop f4. Perhaps. I'm not sure this actually does anything. I'm going to have to probably play rook b3 back to c7 in this position. Yeah. c4 check though. I have c4 check. Takes. Well, you can go rook takes check, king d3, rook d2 check. And then he's starting these nasty rook b6 checks. So c2 check doesn't quite work. But with rook d2 check is possible. It doesn't do anything because of king c3. So I guess I have to go back. That threatens to win the pawn though. Hard to see I should make progress. Maybe e5. That gives him checks on the side. Yeah, I guess if rook a3, c4 check, it should have been what I played in the first place, I suppose. I'm not really sure though. Does it really benefit me to trade the c pawns here? I mean, it's an isolated pawn. Maybe I should just agree to a draw at this point. If he agrees to repeat position, I don't think I'm realistically winning here, you know? I think that I should be satisfied. I misplayed this position. And I'm not even sure, you know, this is even okay for me, objectively. So I'm happy to make a draw because this position is just dubious. I think the whole exchange sacrifice was a little bit over the top. But I definitely didn't play the best after that. And I think that the draw is kind of generous from white here because he probably, with perfect play, is better. But it's enough tangled up and like difficult for white to play that a low rated player probably accepts a draw here. But it's not necessarily. Can I claim a draw? Yeah. Okay. Good game, dude. My first draw. And we're gonna take a break. So we'll see you guys in 5 minutes, and we've got another hour of streaming left. So don't go anywhere. We're back, guys. Coffee break is over. I just saw the tell in the chat room that someone is asking about Simul with viewers. Yeah, this is definitely something I'd like to do. Miscalculated challenges me. Okay, let's start it up. 4-7 is classical. Interesting time control. I don't know if Miscalculated is still with us, but we'll wait around and see if she'll accept my exception of this challenge. I'm International Master William Pascal, playing on Lee Chess as I am Sparklehorse. Our channel on Twitch is Slaggy. We are a professional chess and poker player from the United States. Yeah, let me turn your stream off. Please do. We live in Hungary. I'm not multi-personality or anything. Been living here in Hungary and Budapest since 2004. Alright, let's concentrate. This is a Blitz game. Today, guys, I'm going to play a rapid tournament live in Budapest. Won't be streaming that, obviously. But I'm going to quit the stream about 55 minutes from now, because I've got to kind of save some energy for the live rapid tournament. I normally stream for about 2.5 hours. I find if you get to 3 hours, it's really draining, but less than 3 hours is cool. Okay, miscalculated now. Very aggressive move f4. It's like an f4 Scheveningen. Now black can play d5. I imagine that d5 is a good move here. It can't be bad. It can't be a bad move. So I think that something like knight takes e4 is a little dodgy. Probably going a little overboard. But d5, I mean, bishop c4 and f4 together, it's probably some move you'll find in some obscure games. But mostly white's asking a little too much from the position. But I think it's playable. I mean, you have an extra move with white, and you know, you can do what you want. So you could run into problems that my opponent had. I think our first game of the stream today with the f pawn, this similar structure. We had white all like doubled up behind his f pawn and just going nowhere. Like our viewers on Coffee Break. You're not going anywhere on the f file in this position. Now bishop b5. We could try to get fancy with queen b6. Not gonna do that, because bishop b3, and I could be very embarrassed with my queen on b6. So I accept challenges. And somebody mentioned, okay, now I'm getting back to the channel. Somebody mentioned Simul idea, and I think that's good. I have to learn how to do it on Lee Chess, because it's been a long time since I did an online Simul. And obviously I've never done one on Lee Chess, so I have to check it out and figure out how to do it. But I'm really up for that because it's a lot of fun. Number one, it is something that it's like good for the chess community. It brings a lot of people together at the same time, involved in chess, you know, having fun together, and I think that it's instructive too. So enjoy the Simul idea. Here now, bishop c5 looks, you know, it looks a little over the top. I think we have to just go solid. Although, you know, we could consider bishop b4. She will go rook e1 check. I've really got to watch the mouse slips, because I did some crazy things yesterday. Not used to the browser interface. Now bishop e7, I'm not real thrilled about that, but I don't see an alternative. This is basically forced. I mean, white didn't have to castle kingside, but I think that it's totally okay. And now bishop e3, castles. And, you know, I don't know. I didn't want to do knight g4 while my king was still in the center, because of knight takes c6 and bishop takes c6 or some crazy stuff. But I guess maybe I could have done knight g4 there. The other thing is that my pawn is hanging on d5. I mean, I may just be sacking a pawn if I do knight takes or knight to g4. So, you know, if she wants to do h3 in this kind of position, that's White's prerogative, but I think that that could end up being a significant weakness too. So here we go. This is game 1 world, basically. I can't remember your name. He was watching the stream, I think. Our first opponent from today. I don't know if anybody remembers. Seba GM. Okay. Do you play with viewers? What time should I challenge you? Yeah. We're definitely willing to play with the viewers. I think the best time control would be like something with like 10 minutes and a small increment. So let's say like 10 minutes, 2-second increment, or maybe 10 seconds, 5-second, 10 minutes, 5-second increments. Bleh. Can't talk. Here now, knight g4, bishop d4, c5. I think White has problems. So I think Black is in it to win it in this position with knight g4 and bishop d4 c5. White has some problems. Probably, you know, the old Mickey Adams can't talk today. Knight g4, maybe king h1 or the weakening h3 should have been considered. You know, in for a penny, in for a pound. If you're going to play f4, maybe we throw an h3 in the deal. And after c5, White doesn't have any intermezzo. Do you say intermezzi? Does anybody know the plural of intermezzo? Intermezzi. Intermezzi. It sounds almost Hungarian. So, yeah, this is the problem. I like your piece configuration, and I like, you know, the fact that you don't make unnecessary pawn moves. But unfortunately, maybe the ugly h3 was sort of necessary there. Have to be very careful about that bishop in this kind of structure. Knight g4, the vulture knight. Miscalculated. No, but Miscalculated was watching us, and yeah, we really, Seba GM, feel free to challenge us. Yes. Bishop takes h7. Who can blame him? Her. He, her. So bishop takes h7. Lasker double bishop sacrifice, perhaps? Should I play f5, maybe? And sort of end this insanity? You know, f5 at this point might be a good thing. Although, on the other hand, the only thing I have to kind of fear is f5 by White in some lines. f5 is a little weakening. But, you know, it sort of helps me shore up the defenses around the king's side in a way. So I don't mind playing f5. You know, if White decides to sack a second piece, then, okay, maybe I just, like, can give one back. You know, it's not realistic for White to sack a second piece, but I think White is in dire straits here. Anyway, so I don't know this line. If it's a real line, it's playable for White, but bishop c4 and f4 is too much. You know, kind of too much to ask from the position, as they say. It's like you're mixing two different variations here. I'd like to get my bishop and queen on a long diagonal. That's what we're doing here. d4, bishop c6, queen d5, and our king is snug as a bug in a rug on h7. I could go with king g6, but I think it's a little bit imprudent to do so. So king h7 to g8 would be the destination square. Well, this is my first stream on Lichess. I experimented a little bit once, but the first time we've actually streamed on Lichess. My name is William Pascal. I'm an international master living in Hungary. And so I'm streaming, obviously, Central European time. We have a good amount of viewers now. Actually, it's funny. I just said where I'm from, and I had a question. Where are you from? It's funny. So, answer questions before people even ask them. You guys can check out my YouTube channel. I have a few original content videos, and well, there will be a lot more. At the moment, just a few. And uploading my streams here, so, and on other chess sites as well. It's called Video Chess Training on YouTube. We don't have a lot of subscribers yet, but we will, so get there if you want to be cool. And Queen B3 check, don't worry about it. So miscalculated, it's time for that to go. I mean, it's really been enough of the bishop on e5. I tolerate it as long as I can, but now it's starting to get kind of in my face. So it's gonna hit the road. Queen takes e5. Rook f3. Not gonna happen. Miscalculated is very determined to try to play for mate. I like that. Okay. Rook f1, check. And we are winning. Good game. All right. Thank you, Miscalculated. Let's go back to the main page and see if we can. What do we got? We got a bunch of followers, and I was just saying I live in Hungary. I'm Central European time, so we're streaming kind of early if anybody's from the West. We have a kind of chess celebrity here, Spinal Tap Chess. He's up pretty late. He's stayed up late tonight just to watch our stream, so we appreciate him. And Spinal Tap quit chess, poker. He didn't quit chess. He quit poker after Black Friday. It's funny, Black Friday was like maybe a good thing for me. I was lucky though. You know, I didn't come to Hungary to play poker. I was like already in a place where I can play poker when Black Friday happened. So it's kind of funny. But I think I had my best poker results after Black Friday. Maybe not my best one, but my best period. So we are occasionally going to stream some poker, but my speciality is chess, and we're going to establish the stream as primarily a chess stream. All right, let's try to get another game. We got a 15-0 here, Boro y Ramis, and let's see if he takes up the challenge. We're up to 2,087. We allowed one draw. Oh, I'm sorry, Seba GM. I didn't see your challenge. I thought that was the old challenge from... I'm definitely not going to leave until we play, okay? So, if you please, I'm so sorry I didn't accept your challenge. I'm not that used to the interface. I saw the challenge, but I thought it was like the notification of the old challenge from Miscalculated. So, we are going to get to you next. Promise. Boro Ramis, I wanted to throw in this because I saw the time control was nice. I like 15-minute chess because it gives us time to talk about the game. And my goal is not to stand here and like show off, but to try to teach people, you know, the game and try to help them improve and try to be entertaining while I'm doing it. So, Bishop G5, this is a Trompowsky-Veresov combo, and I have had my fill of experiences with this. Playing in Budapest. Not clear if white should exchange on f6 or not. It's really a matter of style. So I think here he's kind of threatening to take on c5. This is not the only way for black to play. I'm not sure if I should exchange on d4 or if it's like a minor concession. But it's totally playable. Basically, it's like a reversed Chigorin. And we had a similar game against the Vietnamese I am years ago. It's always, everything is years ago now. It's like ridiculous. Whenever it was years ago. But I'm going to go super solid on you. I'm going to play e6. In my experience, bishop g4 would serve just to like put my bishop out in limbo. And while this guy's going to play like queen d2 anyway or whatever. Though he has other moves like f3 and I don't mind the bad bishop here because his bishop's on b5 and his knight's on c3. These pieces aren't really well placed. So white is going to end up having to waste some time with the knight on c3 and either trading off or repositioning the bishop on b5. So I'm willing to accept this bad bishop on c8 for the time being. It's like a Nimzo Indian, if you will. I don't really like white's exchange on c6 unprovoked. I don't think that's the best, although it's also playable. And now knight e5, which is a good move. We can't be allowing this guy to play, or girl, or whoever, to play, obviously, knight takes c6, so bishop b7. And again, we talk about Nimzo Indian. I think this is the lesser of the evils here. So this feels better for white. It feels like white has a good Nimzo type of position. I'm not real happy with my exchange on d4. I talked about this very briefly, but I think that I help white with that exchange a little bit. So it would be better to keep the tension and keep my options open. Well, now we can castle or play knight d7. I'm not happy about the knight there on e5, but I think really important here, folks, is the fact that white doesn't have a white squared bishop on d3, because if he did, it would be a nightmare situation for black with a really strong stonewall attack. But without that piece to sacrifice on h7 and what have you, his attack isn't that powerful. So the other thing we can do is play c5 at some point. But until this kingside is revolved, I think we have to kind of hang out. Knight d7 maybe. Let's do it. Get rid of the dangerous piece while the getting rid is good. So we could head into a kind of difficult position, but I'm not sure that my bishop is all that bad. I think we're gonna get in e5 eventually if I have to sell the house to do it. We're gonna get in e5 or c5. It's the last thing I ever do. We're gonna free our bishop. But I don't like this. This is not the way I normally operate in this line. So if you learned something from this game, yeah, you can find a replay of the stream later. Definitely, it will be on Twitch, and it will also be uploaded to my YouTube channel, which is Video Chess Training. You can see the link to the YouTube channel down below the stream. So I upload all my old streams. They get kind of clogging up the YouTube, so I'm gonna delete them after a while, but I'll keep them in there for like a month or so and then slowly delete them from YouTube. The old streams that I've done. We've been operating for about 2 months now, and I like the way white's played this game. You know, he's a man after my own heart. I don't play the Verisov, but if I did, I would play it like this. So it's time that we think about our bishop. Bishop a6, c5. What about him putting a knight on c5, you know? I think I need the castle. The g7 pawn's hanging. I want to try to play f6, e5. It's not going to be easy. And we've got really dangerous threats by white with like rook d1 and rook e1 and rook e3 and lifting heavy pieces. So black has to go into this... I'm going to have to do this Lasker-Steinitz kind of thing where I defend like a demon. f6 is indispensable in this position. I'm going to need to use the f7 square for my pieces. I'm going to need everything I can get, basically, to get coordinated. Now, this guy is threatening h6 here. Should I worry about that? No, I don't know. I'm thinking it's kind of debatable. I could even play king h8 and let him trade. But maybe I should play king h8 now. Let's play bishop c8, because this is our plan. I'm threatening e5 now. I'm defending my queen, and the whole point of e5 is not only to destroy his center, but we want to liberate our pieces. So really heads up move by white there. And perhaps we start thinking about sacrificing a pawn right about now. Because, you know, this guy is all over us like a bad shirt in this position. The e5, pawn takes e5, pawn takes e5, rook takes e5, rook takes e5, queen takes e5, queen f7. And we're on f2, so he has to play, you know, some passive move. And I think it's interesting compensation. He's got a weak pawn on He's got the weak pawn on h5, which should help us a little bit. But we also have other ideas, a little more experimental ideas, with e5, take, and rook f5, which is kind of double-edged because he has queen b8. The other idea would be to just take the open file, but I'm not real happy with that. This e5 pawn sack and trying to play rook e8. He plays queen d4. His queen is on a very good square. He's up a pawn. I don't really like it. So I don't know, man. I'm thinking about something else. But if I don't get an e5, it may be fatal because he'll never let go of this grip on the position. The other possibility would be to get in c5 here. I would love to do it, but I don't know if I can hold on. You know, it just looks like after c5 he just takes the pawn and keeps it. So e5, pawn takes e5. Don't see a lot of clear comp. Queen c7 is interesting. I could play queen h5, maybe queen f7 to attack the pawn. Then he plays queen d6. So there's all these dark square issues for me. So it's looking kind of questionable. Maybe I can play bishop f5 at some point, queen f7, and then queen d4, bishop f5, attacking his pawn on c2. Could be. I'm going to play this. I don't really like the other variations, to be honest. The situation where he just plays f4 and starts to sit on the position, it looks highly unpleasant for black. So I'd rather sacrifice a pawn and at least have some activity than to get strangled here. Seems like black should have reasonable comp. The weakness on c2, the ineffectuality of the knight on c3, at least momentarily, the h5 pawn, and also my bishop comes into play very actively on f5. But I feel like I'm being a little optimistic. Rook f5 is the other idea I mentioned, and I was scared of maybe queen b8. Rook takes h5 when it's not that clear that he has anything. Maybe knight a4, knight c5. Seba GM. He could pull the gun on the f file. The rook f5 is active, but I don't think it really does anything. He's got h2 covered all the time. I'd have to find a way to unpin myself on the back rank after queen b8, and I don't see how to do it. So we have a couple different options here. I really want some concrete threats against this guy here. Queen f7. And h6 is a move that I'm probably gonna need. I need to play at some point. I don't want him to mess up my structure. I like to fix the weakness on h5. Rook f5. And maybe I could find... It also blocks my pieces, though. I'm very torn on this rook f5 thing, because I don't see anything concrete for me there. Queen f7. Maybe queen f7 and h6. Queen f7, rook e8. So let's play queen f7. We open up the diagonal for the bishop on c8. We threaten queen takes f2 check. I'm expecting queen to d4 here, because I could play rook e8 anyway on the queen. We get this reprieve now, which is like a miracle. We're so lucky because, I mean, I think we were borderline lost in this position, you know, after queen d4. But the guy plays this move, and now black is clearly better. Bishop a6. This is like our only chance, you know, that he'll have bishop a6. I think that white's opening is excellent, and even this position was excellent. And after queen d4, black has negligible compensation. I mean, a little bit of compensation. I guess he couldn't play queen d4 because of queen takes h5. Well, he could, though. I mean, he takes on a7, and I don't have a mate. So I think queen d4, and I'm thinking white's like better, and it's a position that's strategically better. Now he's in a lot of trouble. And we want more than a draw. We want more than a draw, but I'm not sure if we're going to get it, you know, because, well, I guess worst comes to worst, we can maybe take on c2. So we've got to play for a win here, but I'm not sure exactly. It would be nice to play bishop f1, but he has queen g3. However, bishop takes g2. Bishop f1. I don't know. Bishop f1. Queen g3. Bishop takes g2. I don't really see another defense for white. I think it's sort of forced. And there, I'm a little worried about the precarious position of my pieces and the fact that his rook can get to the 7th rank. But on the other hand, I'm up a pawn, and the white pawns are weak too. It's very tempting. The other thing is that it looks like I should be mating this guy or woman. I don't know. I think I'm just guessing whether it's a guy or a girl, but trying to be politically correct here. I don't know. I don't see any way to directly checkmate this person, and maybe rook f5 again would be nice, but I'm getting mated on the back rank. h6 is a good waiting move, actually. Maybe we could do that. You know, we just play h6, and still, we're always going to have problems on the back rank, no? I mean, even h6 isn't going to magically solve all of our problems. They'll still have like queen e8, queen g6, queen e8, queen g6, so I think that's kind of a fantasy. Kind of a fantasy idea. h6, though, a useful move in general for black. And it's sort of difficult for white to do anything. Let's do the useful move here. Because actually, rook e3 for white is bothering me a little bit. Rook e3, rook g3. So maybe I should do bishop f1 while I can do it. Alright, we'll do it. And yeah, because if I waste time, I'm afraid rook g3, rook a3, rook g3 could be a problem. That was a mistake. I'm not sure. I don't know. Rook e3, rook g3, rook h3. There's no perpetual. There's no mate because queen h4, rook h3. I'm not sure. White's going to go to the 7th rank in many lines. In many lines I could win a pawn and white would get a lot of counterplay. Because of my kind of funky bishop that's not clearly good or bad. Right, so actually now we talk about this rook on the 7th rank. This could be like where it happens. Queen g3. If I do bishop takes g2 here, white has, yeah, I mean exactly that. I'm thinking I made a mistake. But maybe not. Yeah, actually, bishop takes g2, rook e7, bishop e4 check, and I should be fairly active. So bishop takes g2. Hopefully white missed this. We are up a pawn. We have a fairly safe king. The question is, endgames here are kind of difficult to calc. I think I'm good though. The 5 against 4. The bishop's pretty active. Knight is dominating it. I mean, where's it going to go? You know, the bishop to e4. Probably to e4 at some point. I can see myself maybe winning a rook ending. What's he going to do? Play bishop or rook c1 here? I mean, it seems like he has to play actively, but his whole pawn structure starts to drop. And when I take on c2, I also have a rook that's pretty well placed. So he did that. Okay. That makes a lot of sense in a way. And I'm forced. I have to take. Now, the d4 square is a real issue. So I have to play bishop e4. Bishop f3, knight d4, bishop takes h5, knight takes c6. Also interesting. Bishop f3, knight d4. If I take, you know, he's winning my other pawns over there. I would have to connect to pass pawns, but I'm afraid my pawns are quite slow on the other side. So I'm preferring to go this way. And I like the bishop in the center. c3. Okay, and now my plan was c5. Because I don't have time to get up there and protect it. It's difficult for him to attack the pawn. And I'm threatening d4 in a lot of lines. I need to get my king in the center. White is fighting for a draw. Obviously. Here now b4. I wonder if I should play a5. Given the circumstances, it's interesting. I'm not sure if I should play a5 or not. First, I guess we have to consider just centralizing the king, but we're getting kind of low on time. It's 15 minutes, no minutes. Let me see. King f7, b4. Take. This position is going to be really close. But I don't know. I don't know if this is winning or not. Maybe it's too simplified. It's kind of hard to say. He's got a lot of pawns on the right color, but I don't know. He could play some moves like c4, knight c1. Knight c1 now a4 maybe. c4 allows bishop d3. That was my plan. Though it's not necessary for me to do anything. Other side of the board I'm not sure about. Now this move, I just want to keep my bishop as active as I can. My only way to win, I guess, is creating a passed pawn or infiltrating with my king. h6. Try to fix the weakness. And now he's sort of passing. And I think d4. Honestly don't know about this. With 49 seconds, I don't really like my chances. I need to go after the H pawn here. If I can win that pawn, I'm winning. I guess I'm winning. And it becomes a matter of time. Good old time. This was 15-0. Okay. So this is winning now. I'm just going to try to advance all the pawns as far as possible. I don't think d3 was the best move, putting that on a white square. But it still doesn't change the overall evaluation. Alright. a4. King d4. Oh, I see what he's doing. He's sort of setting up like dark square blockade on the side there. But he doesn't have any kind of active counterplay. Eventually, something's got to give here. Bishop g2. He'll probably flag me on the clock. There is a check, a couple of checks. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this in time. If I was better at bullet chess. So, king e5 isn't going to work. Yeah, actually king e5. Or king e3. Now d2 check. I gotta watch out for pre-moving here. We should be able to do it with pre-move. Yeah, that was a little close. I think we cut it a little too close there. But white, I think, should have drawn that ending. Was really, really dodgy. So It's mate with 4 seconds left. I don't know, man. I cut it a little too close on the clock sometimes. So we've got another 15 minutes left, and that's enough for one more game, or possibly 2 Blitz games. Ashalov, we have 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Let's play this. See if Ashalov will play again. Ashalov was the guy we played earlier, I believe. I did lose one game on time. Maybe this was Ashalov. I can't remember. Let's see. Okay. Oh, no. Ashalov was the closed Sicilian. Ah, okay. It's a rematch. I forgot Sebi. Oh, okay. I have to, let's see. Offer draw. Sebi, I forgot you again. I'm going to offer a draw. Okay. Let's play Sebi. Sebi had the match, and I spaced. Okay. Seba, I promised you to play. So, thank you, Ashalov, for accepting a draw there. Because I promised Seba I would play. So, guys, we're going to bail on the other game. Promised Seba to play. I already skipped in one game. I got so intensely involved in the last game that I almost forgot him again. So, let's remember what we're doing. Knight f6. Seba GM. He was playing silly trying to flag me. Well, yeah. We get a lot of that around here. We get flagged a lot. I'm not averse to winning on time. What I don't like is people who play only for time. And any of the people who were following me before I started here on Lichess know that I'm not respectful of those out there that choose to focus primarily on the clock. I like, to win on time as much as the next person, but to base your entire game around playing for time is, I just can't respect that. I don't think it's good for your game. So, where you have people, I think there's kind of like an amount, percentage that you devote to trying to find the best move and to trying to, devote to staying ahead on time, and a lot of players just put too much emphasis on the time, I think. So the last game was a good example. He should have used his time. I mean, he definitely had very good chances there. I mean, I would be surprised if that was a forced win for black. His knight is good. He has a really good knight. I mean, that seems like a perfectly reasonable position for white. So, anyway, thanks everybody for joining me for the stream, especially from Lichess. If you guys just discovered me now, I really appreciate. Please like the channel and check out my YouTube videos on Video Chess Training on YouTube. I'm uploading the old streams there. Sounds like Olegas has flagged you in drawn endgames. How did you ever guess something like that, man? How would you guess something like that, Rex? Olegas, who I actually, at one point I had to just resign when he challenged me. Because I won't play with somebody who does that. I mean, it's ridiculous. Rook against rook, really? There is at least one grandmaster I know who would do the same thing, but I won't. I'm not going to go there. We're going to try to be positive here in the stream. So, I sort of forgave Olegas. I will not resign anymore when he challenges me or has to play me. I won't accept a challenge, but if I have to play him, I won't resign on move 1 anymore. There's two things. Rook endgame, like rook versus rook, and opposite color bishop endgames where the pawns are totally locked. I think those are really the two positions. The other day I lost a weird game which bothered me a lot. If you guys have ever had this happen, but it's happened so rarely I completely forgot about it. I had a game the other day where I flagged with knight against knight and bishop with no pawns on the board. I mean, I know this is technically debatable because there are positions where you can get mated, you can self-mate yourself. But I mean, I don't know. In today's day and age with internet chess, maybe we should think about... are you going to sack a piece here, Seba GM? I had the same game against somebody recently. I think. Almost identical. I mean, knight versus... knight and bishop. Knight versus knight and bishop. Is that really... should that really be a win for the knight and bishop? Hedgehogs for me says, I discovered you from Lichess. You're one of my favorites. I found you seem very calm and positive. Well, I mean, you know, there's a lot of times when I also, you know, have gotten angry, but let's play h6. But I regret it, you know. It's like, also from playing poker, it's really important that you learn to control your emotions. I think I've improved a lot, but there have been some times when I wanted to like smash the mouse or smash the computer. You know, it happens. If you were playing a game for $1 million, I guess, you know, if you lost, you might be a little angry. So Seba GM here does something interesting. He gives up the bishop pair and plays this g4 to g5. Looks pretty dangerous. Definitely non-standard approach, but I'm taking this pretty seriously. It's like a Kiri's attack kind of position. He gives up the bishop. It looks reasonable. I feel like I should try to counter in the center somehow. Maybe d5. d5. But d5, pawn takes d5, knight b4 is playable, but giving up my dark squared bishop in some lines with bishop takes c3 doesn't seem too appealing. I think we're going to have to go into the think tank here, folks. h6. I guess there are lines in the Najdorf, though I don't play the Najdorf. There are lines in the Najdorf that are really similar to this, I'm sure. You know, when the question is put to the bishop on g5 in the main lines of the Najdorf, and you get this bishop takes f6 and g4, it looks like that. But I don't think black should panic here. I think staying calm is what we do. World Chess Network. Yeah, man, that's right. That was a long time ago. World Chess Network. I guess it doesn't exist anymore. That was fun, though. We had a lot of good banter games with strong players. I need to get the rest of my pieces developed here. And what about g5, by the way? Am I going to get crushed? g5. It looks kind of scary because I don't have a lot of active counterplay. But not right away. I mean, my bishop is really strong. So, I don't know. Bishop d7. Well, bishop d7. You know, it looks weird, but I just want to get my pieces developed. So, what can you do? h4. Okay. And maybe g6 should be played. I guess g6 has to be played. I mean, how am I gonna, you know, defend my king side without the bishop on g7? The dragon bishop is really essential to holding my king side together here. So I don't know. Seba GM had other options, let's say, but I think the way he's played is pretty logical. It's very direct. It's not going to be easy for him to mate us with the king having the flight squares f8 and e7 and the bishop guarding the dark squares. Guys, we're going to end the stream after this game. I've got a live rapid tournament I'm going to. Topolov style. ICC bought WCN. Yeah, I guess now that you mention it, I kind of maybe knew that. I don't really know, though, because they didn't really do anything with it. They just sort of, I guess, did like a absorbing the competition kind of purchase. So the problem here, folks, is that you see we have a fantastic dragon bishop, but we don't have any like counterplay on the other side. Now, dangerous move from Seba here. Dangerous move. He's going to have knight d5. And I don't know, man. I could get mated, like straight up mated. It's like bad situation for me. Takes on f5, knight d5. My queen is trapped in mid-board. Wow. Okay. Yeah, this looks bad. G takes f5 doesn't seem to help in any way. Man, my rook is in an unfortunate position on d8. I may just be lost here. I don't see a good move. Because knight d5 and knight f6 check is going to create horrible problems for me. f6 is going to create horrible problems, so this doesn't look good. I can't let him play f6. The bishop e5, I guess, is sort of my only defense. But I'm living on like fumes in that position. He'll just mate me with a few maneuvers, like queen g2, queen h3, or something like that. Bishop takes c3. I'm getting mated in all lines, it looks like. That's really strong. Don't panic. How much did I get paid for a banner game? God. I have no idea. It was a long time ago. That I can't answer. Honestly, I don't remember. G takes f5. But I got to play good players. It was fun. It was like Miles and Mihai Marin and a lot of great players. It was a lot of fun. And I did okay. Wow. Seba GM, I don't know if you like made this up over the board or it's like preparation, but I'm completely drawing a blank as far as how to defend this position. Bishop e5. If I could only sack a piece somehow, but there's just no way to do it. No way to do it, and I should have played d5. If you go back to, I guess, after h6, bishop takes g4, maybe d5. I mentioned it briefly, but I need to get some kind of counterplay in the center. And the problem is my queen is getting trapped here. It's unbelievable that I don't have a square, nothing. Not even anything, like close. Queen just trapped in mid-board. I have to play something like, what? Nothing. Nothing works. My queen has no moves. Queen b4. Take, queen b4, for example. So if I take on c3, he takes with the queen. I'm always mated there. h-file is mated. This is a horrible game to end the stream with. But it looks like that's what's going to happen, folks. We're going to get knocked out in 15 moves by Seba GM here. Didn't mean to move the position there. So there's simply no defense. f6. Like f6, is that really a move? Am I thinking about f6? Bishop e5 and f6, game over. I guess I have to play bishop e5. For the sake of the stream, I'm going to continue here. And now I keep clicking on the screen. So you can't play queen h2 at the moment. We need another plan. Bishop e8. So what do we do? a5, too slow. My only plan would be something almost impossible to do. Rook c8. And this is lost. This was lost after move 14, or even earlier. Queen d3. Okay. Queen d3 it is. But for the sake of the stream, I'm going to fight on. Whoa. I keep clicking on the moves. I'm sorry about that, guys. And we're off the position. So I'm playing this out. I should probably resign, but I'm going to play a few more moves because our structure is sound. We're down a full piece. Yeah, for a pawn. We're going to lose on time. What happened? I'm missing the move. Oh, you took. Okay. Check. And the d6 pawn is falling, so it's lost. Knight g5, that's as bad as anything. And king e7. And good game, Seba GM. I guess I should try a different move there, but that was pretty efficient, pretty well played. Good game. I'm going to resign this one. So, I don't know, you got me right out of the opening there. h6, I have to look this up. g4, bishop d7. Bishop d7, not good. I have to play d5, I guess. But, I think the other thing, I tried to resign. I'm sorry, I tried to resign, but didn't let me. The other thing that I can do is not play h6. You know, I think I prefer to play without h6. But the last time I played this kind of position, Seba GM said he was out of book, but he played really well for someone out of book. If one ends a little early for whichever reason, could you analyze it a little before the end of the stream? Well, yeah, this one is what I was talking about here. Seba GM, actually, I don't know if I can analyze this, you guys. What happened was, he was out of his book, but he came up with a very good plan. That's kind of a non-standard idea. The most common idea is to like sacrifice a piece here for white with h4. Like that. So I never had anybody do this, but it looks very logical to take on f6. And bishop takes f6. Now g4 is very logical. And, you know, I don't know if Topalov would play g5 here. But, I mean, you know, it looks a little insane. But maybe you could play it. I don't know. g5 is consideration because it would be very radical, but it would definitely like gain control of the e5 square. My counterplay on the queen side is slowed down by my queen on b6, and but I didn't realize I could lose so quickly here. So I think I have to play d5 in this position after I play bishop d7. This is just too slow. So I thought there was some options, but I mean, I really have to play d5 here in this position. That is, you know, the classic kind of idea of countering a wing attack with an attack in the center. And that's the whole reason for rook d8. And it makes sense. You know, if he takes, I can play knight b4, and I have a couple options. But I should have some sort of counterplay, basically, against his... I could even sack the exchange. Maybe even d5, e takes d, pawn takes, knight takes, rook takes, and bishop takes g4 with active bishops. I don't know. I'll have to look this up, but that looks a little bit vague. I would probably prefer to play knight b4 and sack a pawn, you know, something like sacking a pawn, but I don't know about this. This is weird. I think maybe h6 is the real problem. If we go back, like one last thing to show you guys, after the opening here. This, I think, is important. Maybe the real mistake here is, well, after f4 playing, rook d8 is, I believe, not the only move. I could play h6 right away, but here after king b1 I should play d5. I'm pretty sure this is like a book position. So instead of this, I should play d5 at the end. Sorry about that. I'll go back to the position. I'll just click on the move. Queen b6, bishop e7, castles, and here, this position after f4, rook d8, king b1. King b1, I think that Sergei Kudrin played that against me. It's been a long time since I played that game, but d5, I think, is theory. And h6 is a little slow and a little bit weakening, you know. So Seba GM, your instincts were very good. I should play a central strike with d5 either now or in the game after it happened. The engine doesn't give any mistakes until g6. It wants to play bishop takes c3, which does look crazy, Hedgehog. I don't know. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to close it down. And check me out on Sunday. Nice game, Seba Chess, Seba GM. We're going to be back on Sunday at 7 p.m. European Central Time, Central European Time, whatever it is. And that's 1 p.m. New York time. So you can warm up for watching the Super Bowl by watching me play chess, maybe. Alright, everybody, thanks for joining me here on Twitch. My handle is Slaggy. I was Sparklehorse on Lichess, and you can check out my YouTube videos at Video Chess Training. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.